Hi, I'm Christy Strauch. I'm the Possibility to Profit coach. So if you have a sense that you have a chaotic pile of creative possibilities, but you don't know how you would make that into a business, I can help you. And I'm going to be talking today with Claudia Palmera. In the meantime, here is her information. As we start talking, you can go to one of her websites or her Instagram feed. So I want to say something quickly before we get started with the interview about the whole thing between being an artist and being a designer, and how we sort of hate the way the English language separates those two things, because they're not necessarily different. I was thinking about this before we started, that there's some kind of, I don't know, thing in the air that a designer is an artist who gave up or something, or a designer is an artist that decided to go commercial or whatever, which I think is dumb. But anyway, please meet Claudia Palmera, who is an artist and a designer, and those things are very intertwined. So I wanted to ask you, the first question is, what do you feel like is the purpose of your art?
Thanks, Christy. It's really good to see you, and thanks for inviting me to be interviewed. I'm really excited.
Yes.
So just I wanted to say something about the designer art thing. If that's
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, because being a design, I'm proud of being a designer. Like, really, it's just a fantastic thing, and I love, the idea of design, and I also love art. To me, they're two different sort of channels, but they're fed from the same soul, let's say.
Yes.
And people do have different views about it, so it's an interesting topic. Maybe
it is
another chat, but
well, and there's a bunch of people watching, so if anybody has any questions about the difference between art and design, if there even is one, and where do you, especially Claudia, see the intersection between the two? But talk about what do you feel like is the purpose of your art?
Well, yeah, I mean, I not to do it, but just like I think design can be interpreted as something that's more commercial, as you said.
Yes.
And maybe more like something that can be produced more, like a magazine cover is like produced, right? It's seen by many. And there's something that's really fundamentally useful or functional.
Right.
Now, art has an abstract function. It is functional, but you can't use a painting to sit on or something, like a chair, But anyway, what I think I've always done art and also design. Like, it started really early for me. And the question is, what is the purpose of my art?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I get these ideas. And I don't know where they come from. I imagine that they come from some kind of power force that is beyond my comprehension. It's larger than I am. It's beyond my realm, but it's in the ether, and I get these ideas. I don't know exactly from where they come.
Yeah.
They trickle in, but then they bug me, and
I love this.
I have to express them in some way, and the most natural way for me to express them, because I've done lots of expressive things. I've played piano, I've acted, I'm a very expressive person, but it comes to me through a visual mode. So I try to bring that energy, that light, the purity, the beauty into my work, so that it can perhaps bring someone else to a sense of consciousness, beauty, transcendence, a reminder that there's another reality that's not just the mundane that exists, and that we can go there. And perhaps that can bring a sense of peace.
Yeah.
Which is healing in a sense.
It is.
And in a way, art does start. Art can be very healing for the self.
Yeah.
And and it can even start sort of selfishly, like I need to get this feeling out or through and out, and then it ends up helping someone else maybe. So I don't know.
Absolutely, it does. I'm going to hold this up again. So the Claudia Palmera has some of your web design and stuff like that on it, right? And then byclue.com is where a lot of your design objects are, not just launched.
Yeah.
And then right. And I spelled the, which there's no way I can draw this backwards. Maybe there is. I spelled your Instagram. There's two A's on the end. I printed this backwards so that it would show up the right direction on Instagram, so it's challenging. Anyways, the whole thing about art evoking emotion, like you were talking about, I don't know how to ask this question exactly, but the same thing is happening with your design objects. I think, can you talk about the purpose or what kind of impact you want the design objects to have?
Again, like the bugging idea, the nagging, persistent thought came, and I'm very interested in layers. My work is full of layers, and whether it's a digital collage or a physical collage or it's expressed, and some of the things that I produce as objects are layered. They add layers to and texture to reality, to the space, to the person. And so I just wondered what it would be like to insert a layer of one of my works and what that would be. And I think the purpose of it, I hope that it can add joy. I mean, I love the idea that something in your home or on your body would be that reminder.
Yeah.
Right. Like beauty, color, like something ethereal, something magical, right? Just even for that half a second. I know I need a lot of reminders, right? Because I can get into the day and the head and the this and the that and the, and the work and everything else, all these distractions, right? And then I crave these reminders.
Yeah.
These reminders of like, joy, peace, love.
Beauty, something bigger, than us. Yeah, I totally get that. That's what art does for me too. And when I can wear it on my body, that's even more compelling somehow. It's interesting. So who do you want to make an impact on with your art?
Well, you.
Right? It's working.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I think, when I'm talking about as a child.
Yeah.
Like my natural inclination as a child, and this is not every child, but this was mine, was to make art for people. And so I would make things for people. And I even had, I think I was 11 years old, and I had a little magazine that I drew, 6 copies of for all my friends, right? And and I think there's something about wanting to give my loved ones and impact my loved ones, and the thing is, I'm lucky that I love a lot of people. So actually, I just tend to love people, and when they come into my circle, I gather them and I hold them. And so it's important to me that, as opposed to the anonymous crowds that I might be talking to, and those are great too, but it's like it almost feels personal.
Yeah, well, it's a way. I think what I'm hearing you say, it's a way to spread love. Yeah, that's very compelling to think that something I make, something you make, actually brings more love into the world. That's pretty big. That's really big. So you make connections with people. We're on Instagram, obviously, right this minute, and you have a website and stuff. What is your most either successful what method do you enjoy the most in making connections with people as an artist?
Well, I mean, there's nothing more fun than an actual art opening. I mean, that's just the bomb. But
That is the
that
bomb.
hasn't happened for a while, only because of restrictions is that. So, but I do communicate through a monthly newsletter, and I do offer a gift in that newsletter.
And they can, and people can sign up for your newsletter on either of the.
On either of them, but actually my main website, which is myname.com, that's where the newsletter I'm talking about is. The other website, you can also access that too. But
Okay.
yeah, I design every month, design, create art, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, from an iconic, which is a series I've been doing for many years, and it's like a digital collage, and it's very much comes from like the moment. So what I'm looking at, what I'm feeling, what's going on, and it's really made right then and there in that time. And so I offer that as a gift to my subscribers. And in it, I also have some musings and just ideas and things I share. So that's and I don't like to spam or overdo it. So that's just one time per month, and it's probably not good like marketing sense, but I don't want to do it anymore. So. And then I guess Instagram is pretty cool. Like I've been really loving the format. And then my a wonderful studio team who is a generation younger has really pushed me to do more video. And so I started this moving portrait series where it's very Woody Allen. It's like long takes and, you know, just like jazzy music and then just like glimpses into my studio life.
And where are you posting that?
That goes there. I put them on Instagram. It's on my website. It's on YouTube.
Oh, that's cool. All right, hold this up one more time, or more than one time. So I want to ask you one touchy question, maybe, because we've talked about this a lot, is pricing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm rolling my eyes because I have my own issues with pricing. How do you figure out pricing?
Well, it is tough because also like I live in Rome, Italy.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like it's a different marketplace here. And then in Europe in general, and then there's the States, and then there's cities in the States, you know. So,
right.
So there's all these different markets, and it's a wild sort of thing. I mean, right? Like that NFT that sold for $6 million or something.
I know, crazy.
It's like, I'm like, you want an NFT? I got one.
Yeah, right. I got one that's only $5 million.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I make one every month.
Yeah.
So, you want my Photoshop layers? Sure. So anyway, so yeah, it's really hard to know. And actually as a designer, you know, I have a design studio. I create websites for people. I work with people in the world on their stuff. I create really creative stuff that is actually applied and used and functional. Let's say, in that sort of recognizable way. And so, you know, there's sort of a standard pricing there that is pretty easy. But art, on the other hand, how do you quantify? How do you quantify it? How do I quantify how much one of my designer trays cost? You know what I mean? Because these are one-offs in a sense, right? I'm not mass producing them. Maybe someday I will. You know, I'd love to collaborate with a big brand and have them think about the pricing, really. But I think, you know, one of the tools that has really helped is that you know, it's in your literature and in your methods, is actually getting very like specific about it.
Yeah.
Like, how many hours does this take? You know, what's your process? The thing that's not quantifiable are the dream hours. You know what I mean? Like, I dream about things. I think about things. You know, I go through the world and I'm taking stuff in a new way.
Yeah.
And that you can't really put a number on, really. You know, I can say, oh, yeah, I dream for an hour.
Right. And here's the bill. The dreaming, I mean, there would be, not that we want to do this, but the dreaming part's the overhead. You have to
Yeah.
allocate certain dreaming
Overhead.
time, right? Certain dreaming time to each piece, which is doable. I mean, what you're talking about is that idea that it start out, because pricing's really hard, because we're all pricing something that's never been seen before.
Yeah.
So you can, the way we always start is, what's the logic? You know, how many hours did it take and what's your hourly rate? And let's multiply those two things together and see how we feel
Yeah.
about that. And that's always a really good place to start. And then the right immediately comes up, how many hours? Is it just the hours I was making it, or is it the hours I was designing it and making it, or the ones I was thinking, designing, and making? You know, but at least there's some place to start, rather than just
Absolutely.
sort of, you know,
Absolutely.
staring off
And
into
then
space.
there's a little bit of intuition, like what is the market? You know what
Right.
I mean? Like what's,
Right.
you know what I mean? And often in my career, it's like, would I like to sell this, or would I like to hold on to my, you know what I mean? And at a certain point, you know, I get to be the CEO and say, you know what, I'm going to make a deal here and just sell it.
Yeah. 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 And there's no substitute for experience. Selling it and see what happens. And the other thing I know we've talked about too is using your gut, you know, like take the multiplication of the hours times the hourly rate to see what that amount is. And what does your gut say then? Like almost everybody's gut always goes, oh no, at first. But at least then we can start to have a dialogue.
Yeah.
Which is good. How do you balance your day job with your art? Yeah, I know.
That's a funny question.
It's hard.
I think if I think about balance, like not being something that's even,
Yeah.
something that's like this, like whoa.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Like I'm in process of figuring it out.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. Then it's a flow. And I think what contemplating this question, like what is really important to me, you know, I know what's important to me. I know my values.
Yeah.
So therefore you know, if I come up against a decision, I know what the answer is. And there's different value systems, you know, but when it comes to time, it's like, am I spending time with my son, or am I spending time in the studio? Well, a lot of times, most of the time, I'm going to choose the motherhood.
Yeah.
Because I know that that's a window that's going to close pretty fast.
Right.
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 So in the sense of my son will grow up and not ask me for that hour.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so I do have a really strong sense of value, and I also set goals and like kind of concrete ideas, like this, I want to create this, I'm going to create this. And then things organize. The same goes for my clientele. I mean, it's like, I'm creating this, and I said I would do it by then. I'm going to do that. And then it means something might have to, as I said, you know, sort of this
have
thing,
to balance.
Like, that might have to be wait until later. But in my experience, and, you know, I think it just took a long time to trust myself and trust time, that it's not running out. That, okay, if I say I'm going to get to it, I will get to it. For example, the clue line. I had this idea, I think it was 2 years ago, you know, and it's only now that I have it. It's only now that it's out. The site just launched a month ago. Yeah. You know, so that's okay.
It is okay. You know, that's a reminder that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
That helps me too. The other thing that helps me a lot is 15 minutes counts.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Actually, I wrote a little book about this that is going to come out soon.
Oh.
It's called the Daily Micro Practice. I'm so into the micro. I'm so into the micro thing. As you said, 15 minutes, but for me, it could be less. And actually, I don't quantify it by time. I quantify it by activity. So it's like, I'm going to make a collage. It's going to be one image and one word. I'm going to do that every day.
Oh, how interesting.
So this is something that when I was running a group for creatives, that was like the basis of what we did. And I learned a lot through their practice.
Right.
Doing that. And so, and that's what inspired me to write something about it.
Wow. So people watching, if you have a question, this is your time to ask, because we're wrapping up, because this is my last question for Claudio. What would you say to a young artist just starting out?
Well, one thing I always say to all the young people starting out, because I'm so blessed to have interns and young people work with me,
Yeah.
is get a savings account.
Right.
I always tell them that, because it's just so fundamental to just start putting something in there.
Yeah.
And it will grow. And then one day you'll be like, oh my God, I can buy a house or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I always say that. I know it's not it's not artistic advice or whatever. But I guess the other thing I would say is just, like whatever. Okay, so a visual artist, it's like look at paintings, look at people,
Yeah.
look at things,
Mm-hmm.
Keep a sketchbook in your pad,
Mm-hmm.
keep the channel open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's.
also, if you are noticing anything that is blocking your life in any way, any problem, anything that's just prohibiting you, get
Mm-hmm.
help also. Like that's another big thing.
Yeah. That's really good advice. I feel like it's taken a long time for me to view myself as an artist, also as a writer, and that whole process of realizing that yes, you are a creative. I mean, this is self-serving a little bit since I'm a coach, but I've had to get coaching around that myself.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to combat. It's possible, and I'm writing a book about that, but it's, the inner critic is very loud. When we're creating stuff that's never been seen before, it's so risky. And it has helped me to get help for sure.
Well, what I love about like the artistic coaching is I mean, I've pushed through a lot of the critical voices, imposter syndrome stuff during the creative process. Like I feel pretty experienced at that,
Yeah.
like thanks for sharing, and then just moving ahead.
Yeah.
But it's putting it out into the world is a whole other thing.
Yes, it is.
And that's where the voice of a coach who just says, I believe in you,
Mm-hmm.
simply. Right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing, it feels crazy, it doesn't feel done, or the perfectionist is just like, it's never done, right?
Right.
So yeah, I agree with you. It's so invaluable to have that voice in your corner, that.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It's the reason I've finished books actually, is having a voice in my corner like that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna hold this up one more time. This is where you can find.
So there's a double A on the Instagram, so it's Claudia.
Yes. Yes, that's supposed to be an A on the end. I couldn't figure out how to draw it backwards and upside down. More drawing lessons. Thank you, Claudia. This has been wonderful. It's been so great to talk to you. And I love, is the background, actually, before we go, is that one of your paintings?
Yes, it is. This is, it's too giant to appear completely on the screen, but this is from my Maps of Time in Rome series.
Oh, wow.
And this is called Central Pink. So
it's beautiful.
I also have a tray here, if I can hold that up.
Oh, yes, please. Hold up a tray.
It's in the packaging, but yeah, this is one of my totem trays.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's just gorgeous.
Thank you.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Christy.
It's been great talking.
Same.